Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, presenting The Tempest by William Shakespeare. I am Jamain Hatton. So, the tempest, by definition, refers to a stormy sea or a dangerous storm. And in this drama, there is a bad character, a badass guy by the name of Prospero. Prospero is what the drama surrounds, and it starts by Prospero summoning his personal evil spirit, actually. Her name was Ariel. So he summoned this Ariel character and she controlled the sea, and she's basically creating a mighty tempest. And this tempest was created to revenge or to avenge the wrong that was done to Prospero by characters in a boat. So these persons were in a boat. There are some characters in a boat. We'll get into the characters in just a few. There were characters in a boat, and these persons wronged Prospero, the main character in this book. They wronged him 12 years ago, and now he finally gets the opportunity to punish them. But he didn't want to kill them. He was just manipulating them. So let's get to understand why he was revenging, or what he was revenging. What did they do to him, and why did they wrong him? What did they do exactly to him? We'll get a chance to understand all of that as we dive into The Tempest by William Shakespeare. But let's get to understand from the get-go that Prospero is the main character, and in this book the title is The Tempest, and the tempest by definition is a stormy sea. Let's go into it. Tempest by William Shakespeare. So what happened? Well, Prospero, the same bad guy that the book surrounds, was busy working on hidden truths or magics when his father died. So his father was the Duke of Milan, so he was the next in line for that dukeship or that headship. And as a result of his father dying, he had to now take over. And he has an envious brother by the name of Antonio. The death of the father gave birth to the deceitful plan of Antonio to take over that dukedom. He wanted to now become the duke. Antonio wanted to become the duke ahead of Prospero. So you can get an understanding of what Antonio did. Antonio now took it upon himself to order the kill of his brother Prospero. Are you following so far? Good. So Antonio ordered the hit on Prospero. And how did he do that? He basically teamed up, or he conspired with the King of Naples, Alonso, to spread the rumor of his brother being involved in black magic, or his brother Prospero being a witch. It wasn't really a lie, because he was working on magic. It might not have been black magic, but he was working on magic. So they spread the rumors about Prospero, and when they spread these rumors about Prospero now, he end up, well, they convinced, when I say they, I'm going back here, Antonio convinced the persons in power to kill Prospero. Right? So the persons who were to carry out the execution of Prospero, because they knew him so well, they spared his life. Not just his life, but they spared the life of his daughter Miranda. She was 3 years old. So what did they do? Instead of killing them, they put them out at sea, or they drifted them out at sea on, let's say, a poor boat. And when they went out at sea, it was there that when I say they, I mean Miranda and her father Prospero experienced a tempest. So they had rough water. Of course, it was middle of the night, and they had to feed, they had to survive. They had to survive at sea. So you can have an understanding of why Prospero hated Alonso as well as Antonio, his brother, because these were the people who conspired and took away the Duke of Milan from him, the title of the Duke of Milan from him. So the drama started with a tempest or a rough sea experience by Antonio and Alonso. So these 12 years after, 12 years after Prospero and his daughter Miranda were stuck on this island, 12 years after, we see Antonio and Alonso and others were in a boat, and Prospero summoned his evil spirit Ariel, his servant, to cause a deep or a dark tempest, a rough water that would cause the separation of the persons in the boat. So he wanted to really revenge what he experienced or revenge what they did to him. So he's basically making them feel how he felt when he was alone at sea with his 3-year-old daughter. So can you see why he is doing what he's doing? Because they wronged him. They took away the title of Duke of Milan from him. I probably should have said that he avenged what they did to him and not revenged what they did to him. Anyway, when Miranda found out the troubles that her father Prospero went through with her when she was 3, she asked him, Alack, what trouble was I then to you? She thought that she was a burden to him, and he responded, Oh, a cherubim. So he's saying she was an angel. In other words, he's comparing her to the keeper of heaven. Oh, a cherubim, thou wast that did preserve me. Thou didst smile, thou didst smile. I hate Shakespearean language anyway. But anyway, the idea here is that he's saying that it was her, it was Miranda that preserved him. It was Miranda that kept him going. And it was Miranda's smile, it was Miranda's smile that kept him going exactly. So here we just have an understanding. You have to go some quoting now and then. You don't have to quote verbatim, you have to go to word for word, but just have an understanding of how Miranda and the father relationship was. So there's a relationship right here. We see Miranda and Prospero, father and daughter, and we have an understanding that she was really admiring her father, and the father was in deep love with his daughter. There was nothing like a father daughter relationship here. Nothing unlike a father daughter relationship. They very much were passionate with each other. They were so much in family love. And we can now see that he's preparing her for another kind of love. And we will see just what I mean when I say that. So let's go through some of the main character. We have Alonso, and Alonso happens to be the king of Naples, and we know he generally respects Prospero. Prospero has a daughter, Miranda. The two of them were exiled from Milan together, and she generally admires and loves her father, Prospero. Prospero has some servants. He has one, Caliban or Caliban, and then he has Ariel. So the two of them are generally servants to Prospero. They do whatever he wants them to do. So Ariel generally helps, but Caliban hated Prospero. So who else we have? We have Sebastian, who happens to be the brother of Alonso. And before we get to the importance of Sebastian, let's look at Antonio. Antonio is the brother of Prospero. So the two of them are siblings. So Antonio envied Prospero. As a result, he concocted a plan to generally become the Duke of Milan. Sebastian, he concocted a plan to kill his brother Alonso. So he wanted to now become king of Naples. So can you see where we're going here? We're seeing a power struggle. We're seeing Sebastian fighting to become king. We saw that Antonio fought Prospero to become Duke of Milan, and as a result, Prospero was put in exile. And we know that Gonzala generally is the character that helps Prospero and his daughter Miranda to generally get away or to move away from the Milan to find refuge in this island, or so they set them a sea, and when he put them in a boat and sent them out to sea, they were books and so on that he went with, and they generally found refuge for 12 years on an abandoned island until they meet up, or until Prospero discovered that they were all the men that were responsible for his exile were in one boat, and he generally avenged his exile by disrupting or by destroying that boat and bringing the guys close to him. So what happened? He basically summoned Ariel to cook up a plan to separate the individual, and he wanted Ferdinand. Ferdinand, this character here, he's basically the Romeo in the play. He wanted Ferdinand, who happened to be Alonso's son, to come closer to where he and his daughter Miranda were, so that Ferdinand can fall in love with Miranda. So if they were out there for 12 years and Miranda was 3 when they left, so Miranda is now 15 years old, we see there that hmm, the girls in Shakespeare's time had early relationships. They were married early. And that might tell you a little bit more about what we want than what we want to get into. So let's not go into that. So here is another character map, and I forgot to tell you a few things. I'm going to tell you it here. Ariel, who happens to be that Aries spirit that is helping Alonso, that's helping Prospero, happened to have had another master before Prospero. So she was begging Prospero to free her, and then Prospero told her that he's not as bad as the person she had before. The person she had before was Slickerax. Slickerax it is? Or Slycorax. And so Slycorax happened to have been a very powerful and evil witch, and generally the Caliban character was the son of the same previous owner or the previous master of Ariel. So Slickerax had a son. The son was half human and half animal, and that son was Caliban. And Caliban wanted or attempted to violate the honor of Miranda. In other words, Caliban wanted or attempted to rape Miranda. Scope is coming together right now. It's coming together nicely. Let's move on. So we're continuing with the storytelling. We see that Ariel was told to bring Ferdinand to the side of the island that Prospero and his daughter Miranda were. And it showed us that Ariel is being used, or Ariel is a servant of Prospero, is being used to put the pieces of the puzzle together, put the pieces of the chess game together. She's used by Prospero to make Ferdinand fall in love with Miranda. So it was a plan of Prospero to have Ferdinand, who happens to be the son of Alonso, to fall in love with his only daughter Miranda. And why might he want Ferdinand to fall in love with Miranda? Because he wanted them to get married, and he wanted all of them to be one happy family so they can return to Milan, and he can now become the ruler of Milan, or he can become the Duke of Milan, regaining or continuing from where he left off 12 years ago. So you can see that in the drama, at some point they were playing chess, and really the chess is very symbolic, because all of them, every single one of the persons in this play was a piece of a chess play by Prospero. Prospero was generally controlling all of them using magic. He was controlling every single one of them. He basically put a spell, or he basically controlled Ferdinand to fall in love with Miranda. And Miranda, of course, was the very first time, she was 15, was the very first time she's seeing a man other than her father. So you can imagine she naturally falls in love with him. And he, of course, being bent in love, he's the Romeo here, following Miranda all over the land, doing menial tasks for the father, doing anything the father would want him to do, fetch wood and so on for the father, just because he likes Miranda. So though we see a nice simile there, a nice device where Prospero promised Ariel freedom, he said, "Thou shalt be free like mountain winds" in Act 1, Scene 2. He promised her freedom, but he couldn't free her too quickly because he wanted to use her magic, her powers, to control how the characters behave and how the characters uh, were. So using magic, they're using the marriage magic of Ariel to put the pieces of the puzzle together. And remember, Tempest is important, or Tempest is interesting because it is Prospero, that one single character who is not just an actor, but is also a stage director. He is generally controlling the actions of everyone in the play. He's pausing it, telling them what to do, and then he operates as though he's oblivious to it all, but really he is the one controlling all of it, and he's controlling the actions of everyone. He's controlling Ferdinand falling in love with Miranda, even though Miranda doesn't know that her father actually wants Ferdinand to fall in love with her. He's controlling that action. Right, he's putting Ferdinand to fall in love with Miranda, and he's also separating the father of Ferdinand to get worried. He wanted the man to get worried. He's worried that the son has died. So when he saw the son, or when he sees the son, he will be excited that the son is alive. So when the son confesses his love for Miranda to him, and we are talking about Alonso here, when he confesses the love for Miranda to Alonso, he would just be happy that the son is alive and take all of them back to Milan with him. So what happened? That was the plan of Prospero to regain the dukedom of Milan, and it worked. That's exactly what happened. It's exactly what happened. Pitch perfect. It worked. So let's look at. So we have some symbols here. First of all, there is the sea. Now the sea represents Prospero's battleground and vengeance for his opponents. Remember, the opponents are Alonso and Antonio, who wanted really to kill him or wanted to get rid of him from the dukedom of Milan. So the sea and the rough sea that he used to control their separation is really a symbol of that battleground and the vengeance of Prospero. Now we have the books. The books that Gonzalo used or put in Prospero's boat shows, or basically gives uh, powers basically to Prospero, and the magic and power that he gave to Prospero was what was used to make Prospero become the Duke of Milan later on at the end of the play. Right, and it was very symbolic because Caliban knew that if he were to kill Prospero, he had to destroy the books because he believed that the books were what Prospero was using to get his power from. And of course, he did that. That was what he was telling to Stefano and Trinculo. But of course, they failed miserably. They couldn't keep focus and end up, when everybody else left the island and everybody else went back to Milan, these three fools remained on the island. They were trapped on the island. So Caliban, Stefano, and Trinculo were the ones remaining on the island in the end. So at the end of the book, at the end of the play, uh, Prospero gave up his powers. And many writing shows that the character of Prospero, that controlling character, that powerful character of Prospero was actually the character of Shakespeare himself. So he put himself there in his play, more or less, right? So when he gave up the power, the magic, or the ability to create magic at the end of the play, that symbolized the end of Shakespeare's career. Because after this book, Shakespeare didn't write any other books. So the giving up of the power, many persons point to this, when Prospero gave up his power, it signified or it symbolized Shakespeare giving up writing or giving up literary work. He didn't do any more plays after this, so this was one of the last plays, more or less. The chess game was very important because remember, chess was played by Ferdinand and Miranda. But really, they were being played by Prospero. Prospero, again, was playing every single person in the play. Prospero controlled. He planned and executed the game of love between the two, Ferdinand and Miranda. So really, the chess game symbolizes a struggle, the struggle for power. And the struggle for power didn't just include Romeo and Juliet, Ferdinand and Miranda, but the struggle for power included persons like Sebastian that wanted to get rid of his brother Alonso and to become king. Remember, it all started as well when Antonio wanted to kill his brother Prospero. So the chess game again is controlled by Prospero. And if you think about it as well, Prospero brilliantly controlled Sebastian to attempt to kill his brother Alonso, so Alonso can get a feel of his own medicine, if you can understand what I'm saying here. So Alonso at some point gave the direction to kill Prospero. You see where I'm going with this? So in the end, or coming down to the end, Prospero moved chess pieces into place. So Sebastian, his brother, attempted to kill Alonso. And the same way Alonso attempted to kill Prospero to, no, what I'm saying. I'm saying, let's go this again. The same way Sebastian attempted to kill Alonso to become king was exactly the way that Antonio attempted to kill Prospero to become the Duke of Milan. So can you see that it was the entire play was a plan of Prospero, really, and he's reaping vengeance, or he's getting a revenge on all of the characters in the play, especially Alonso for the way he treated him, or for Alonso for banishing him from the Duke of Milan. So we see imagery as well, imagery used in the play, or we saw supernatural, we saw shipwreck, and we saw the clasping of the hands. Let's look at these individually. So another device used is imagery. These three here are the main aspects of imagery used. Let's look at the shipwreck. Now the shipwreck is a brilliant plan of Prospero, and Prospero used magic, his intelligence, and his power in his quest to revenge persons who would have tried to hurt him in the past. 12 years ago, the persons who removed him from the Duke of Milan, he revenged those, or he avenged his removal by punishing those people that had a hand in it. We see supernatural is used throughout the play, and in this we see that magic is used by Prospero to basically control the characters and to get them on the island. He got them on the island so the bigger plan can fall into play. The bigger plan was for Ferdinand to fall in love with Miranda. And then we see clasping of the hands. So when the boat's men were in the shipwreck, when they were going through that trying time, or were they going through that Tempest, we saw that the Alonso character, the king, actually clasped his hand and he was praying. So what we understand by that is that even a king can surrender, even a king surrenders to greater powers beyond himself. So even he was praying for the survival of everyone, including himself. Themes, we see loyalty and betrayal. Betrayal in the brothers of Antonio and Sebastian. We see that they were power drunk. We see that they wanted power from their brothers Prospero and Alonso. We have talked about it already. You can write on that if it comes in the exam. This one is not really discussed. Let's look at this one. Colonization. The Tempest really shows the relationship between Europe and native lands or natives on islands. And in the 17th century, you can say that slavery or the aspect where Europe colonized different islands across the world was rampant. And really, Prospero, through the character of Prospero, we get an idea of how uh, the European nations generally colonize native islands or colonize islands of the New World. So Prospero represents the character of the oppressor and the colonizer, and Caliban and Ariel are actually the natives that were servants to Prospero. So, in other words, we see that Prospero is the person who is the oppressing one. He is oppressing Caliban and Ariel. So he is like the European nations, and they are like their slaves, in other words. And we can see how that exact example of how the indigenous peoples were servants to Europe, how they were working to develop Europe. They were working to make prosperous plan come to pass. They were working to make Prospero rich, in other words, just like how the slaves or just like how the servants of Europe work to make Europe rich. So there's some amount of truth to this book. There's some amount of truth to the play. And then we go on to see that Caliban hated Prospero. So we see that as a result of the slavery era, these persons who were in servitude responded to their colonizer. So Caliban hated Prospero. And we see that Ariel, she was somewhat submissive. She do exactly what she was told, and so on. So she was later on freed because she did what she was told, signifying that when they do what they are told, when we are done with using you, we are going to free you, just as what happened in the era of slavery. And we didn't see much of Caliban because Caliban was one of the ones who hated the colonizers and tried to get rid of the colonizer of Prospero. So we see that Ariel had two masters. She had Prospero and she had Slickorax. And we can understand exactly how the European nations worked during the aspect of slavery because we see Ariel's being shifted from one master to the next master. So Ariel moved from Slickorax to Prospero. And that's exactly how the European nations control natives on islands. So after one nation, let's say Spain colonized this island, Island X. When Spain is done, another European nation takes over that island. So we can see again colonization coming out with these characters here. All right, so that's synonymous of how the islands exchange rulers. Some other themes coming out, we have supernatural and magic, as we were previously discussed, and then we have revenge. Revenge in the sense that Prospero wanted revenge or wanted to avenge the wrong he was done by his brother who wanted to seize power from him. Let's look at a sample question here. Most of this was discussed here. All you have to do now is spend some time in answering this question. Pause this, read through the question, and let's try and answer the question in terms of, let me show you what you are to use. I'm going to show you what you're to use to structure your essay. So the types of relationship the question asks, we have different types of relationship. We have father-daughter relationship, we have master-servant relationship, sibling relationship, and we have love relationship. So these are some examples of the relationship that you would write on, or you can write on. And then the examples of the device used would be symbols, imagery, and so on. And we discussed that previously. And also, we can also talk about the fact that colonization, or those themes that come out there as a result. You can talk about colonization, it's a very popular one, and you can show that you're smart and you can show that you understand the book that you have read. That's all the time we have. It's long overdue, but that is the end of this series, and that is the end of CXC 2018 English B. Thank you very much. It was a wonderful 10 months with you, and I wish you the best of luck in your exams. Best wishes.